Today's news. Publication of preliminary report on TV and radio monitoring of parliamentary elections. Imprisoned journalist Einullah Fatulliev to launch hunger strike. Discussion of journalists' release. Authorities try to ensure that their candidates have minimal opposition. Court of Appeals rejects human rights defenders' lawsuit. Hearing on lawsuit of former employee against Azerbaijan state TV channel. The preliminary report on TV and radio monitoring of the parliamentary elections was presented in the press centre at the Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety on October 18th. Amin Husseinov, director of the Institute for Reporters' Freedom and Safety, which conducted the TV monitoring, gave some general information on the project. According to Husseinov, these results will help form preliminary opinions about media objectivity. Husseinov said that this is the first time that radio stations have been monitored during the elections in Azerbaijan, an initiative implemented by the Media Monitoring Institute. Husseinov brought up the banning of foreign radio stations in Azerbaijan in January 2009. From this perspective, he said, the radio monitoring is crucial. IRFS employee Rasul Jafarov spoke about the results of the TV monitoring project. He mentioned that most TV channels are indifferent to the elections. The election-related news items only covered meetings of the Central Election Commission and events held by international observation missions. There were no discussion and debate programs about the elections. The ruling New Azerbaijan Party and President Ilham Aliyev received a great deal of positive coverage, while activity by opposition parties and politicians or independent candidates was not broadcast. 3 television channels, ATV, Lida and Kazar, started a smear campaign against the opposition leader Ali Karimli. Chief Monitorer Rashad Aliyev spoke about the results of the radio monitoring. He said that the radio stations are no better than the television channels, and in some cases the situation is even worse. According to Aliyev, very little airtime has been given to election issues over the past 10 days. All of the monitored radio stations allocated a significant amount of airtime to the new Azerbaijani party chairman, President Ilham Aliyev, and showed support for his party. Apart from the ANS station, none of the radio stations broadcasted talk shows on the elections, nor did they broadcast advertisements about the elections. While commenting on the results of the monitoring, Media Rights Institute program coordinator Khalid Agaliev said that neither TV channels nor radio stations abided by principles of fairness, impartiality and objectivity, and that the prices they charged for airtime were too high. Agaliev said that in general, the broadcasting media is under government control. The media monitoring of parliamentary elections is supported by OSCE Baku office. The technical support for the project is provided as part of the Free Airwaves project financed by the European Commission. Einullah Fatulliev, the imprisoned editor-in-chief of Gündelik Azerbaijan and Realni Azerbaijan newspapers, will start a hunger strike on October 19th. Fatulliev's father said that his son was striking in response to the Azerbaijani government's failure to carry out the European Court of Human Rights ruling on his immediate release from prison. This is the last step in my son's struggle. How long can a human being suffer? He wants at the very least for the public to be aware of what is happening. This is an absurd situation, but no one seems to care, he said in a statement. The imprisoned editor appealed to journalists for their support. On October 18th, the Freedom of Expression Defence Committee met to discuss the measures for the release of imprisoned journalist Einullah Fatulliev. Those attending considered the European Court of Human Rights ruling for Fatuliev's immediate release, the Azerbaijani government's appeal to the Grand Chamber, and the rejection of this appeal by a special committee. The committee stated that the European Court upheld the decision to release the journalist. From now on, each day that Einullah Fatulliev spends in prison is considered illegal, said Media Rights Institute head Rashid Hajili. Journalist Shavalad Chobanoglu said that Enullah Fatuliyev will begin a hunger strike on October 19th and wanted support from the press. He was asking for solidarity rather than for people to join the strike. Shuran Information Agency Director Mehman Aliyev focused on collecting signatures for a petition to demonstrate public solidarity. Aliyev said that the petition would be a powerful indicator of the difference between public opinion and what the authorities are saying. Political expert Eldar Namazov said that Enullah Fatuliyev's imprisonment was a result of a political directive, in his eyes a criminal one. Namazov called for a list of law enforcement officers involved in Fatuliyev's imprisonment, along with the details of their actions, to be sent out to international agencies. Political expert Zardost Alizad plans to organize a visit to the prison where Fatuliyev is held. He said that it would be a demonstration of solidarity, even if they are not allowed to see Fatuliyev. Alizad also proposed opening a lawsuit against the Ministry of Justice for illegally detaining the journalist. He plans to hold meetings with the European Council and OSCE representatives. The Election Monitoring and Democracy Studies Centre, EMDS, presented its interim report on electoral violations during the nomination and registration of candidates for the forthcoming parliamentary elections. The presentation took place in the Media Centre on October the 18th. According to the EMDS Executive Director Bashir Suleimanli, 80 long-term observers are monitoring the election campaign throughout the country at present. He says that EMDS will be monitoring over 1,000 election precincts on voting day. EMDS lawyer Azar Gazimov said, "This stage has been characterized by the lack of equal opportunities for opposition and independent candidates. Notably, some seemingly pointless requirements have been put in place regarding signature sheets for these candidates. There have also been violations during candidate registration. There are 719 candidates registered, but 322 have been unable to register. This means that the number of registered candidates in this election is 3 times lower than it was in the 2005 elections." EMDS chairman Anna Mamadli suggests that the pressures imposed on the candidates during the election process aim to restrict opposition to ruling party candidates. Mamadli said, "The working groups checking the signature sheets in the constituency election commissions were unprofessional. They sometimes falsified the signatures, citing alleged problems with ID cards of the voters who had signed. Therefore, the number of valid signatures was reduced, and the registration of opposition candidates was rejected on the grounds that there were an insufficient number of signatures. This is a criminal act." Speaking about the pre-election campaign, Mamadli noted that the Central Election Commission violated the legislation by allocating free airtime to all candidates. The issue of guaranteeing airtime to political parties could be solved by reducing the cost of airtime from 1800 manat to 180 manat in public TV. This is the first time that there have been no TV debates or discussions, Mamadli added. According to Mamadli, there is still time to improve the electoral conditions despite all of these problems. To make this happen, it is necessary to address the complaints of the rejected candidates, to ensure freedom of assembly and freedom of speech, to provide equal opportunities for candidates during the pre-election campaign, and to stop illegal interfering with electoral processes. It is also crucial that journalist Enullah Fatuliyev and bloggers Emin Milli and Adnan Hajizadeh be released from prison. During these parliamentary elections, there will be no TV debates between political parties. This is unprecedented in the history of independent Azerbaijan, and I think it shows that our political system is not just lagging, but in crisis. In the 1995 elections, there were television debates. At that time, the Azerbaijan Popular Front Party and the Azerbaijan National Independent Party were registered, but the Musavat Party was not. There were debates in 2000 and 2005 as well, but nowadays we see no debates on television. It is as if there is no opposition to the ruling party. Today, the Court of Appeals considered the appeal of human rights defender Rasul Jafarov against the Penitentiary Service, who refused to comment. The hearing was presided over by Judge Etibar Nabiev. Jafarov, the winner of the 2010 International Bridges for Justice competition, asked the Penitentiary Service for information as part of his fellowship. He requested general statistics about the number of prisoners released before the end of their prison sentence. The Penitentiary Service rejected the request, citing statistics as official data that cannot be publicized. Jafarov, claiming that the rejection was unfounded, filed a lawsuit in the Yasamal District Court. The court denied the lawsuit and Jafarov appealed. Yasamal District Court illegally refused to accept my lawsuit. Their rejection stated that the Xerox copy of a document I added to the lawsuit had not been notarized. In fact, the Xerox document was the response letter of the Penitentiary Service, because there was only one copy of the letter. Furthermore, a notary office would not notarize this document because it is an official document of a state agency, and thus doesn't need to be notarized. Nonetheless, I then added the original version of that letter to the lawsuit. Unfortunately, the appeals court upheld the decision. Today, in the Sabah District Court, Judge Fuad Husseinov held the hearing for a lawsuit opened by a former employee of the Azerbaijan Television and Radio Broadcasting against his former employers. Azerbaijan Television and Radio Broadcasting did not renew the contract with Asef Guliev after it expired on the 31st of July. Guliev demands that the station rescind his dismissal and appoint him editor of Azerbaijan Television with a permanent contract, as well as paying him compensation equal to his salary since his dismissal. In a statement, former editor Asef Guliev said, "I played a major role in the making of a patriotic television program, and I would like to know why my contract was terminated while the program continues to be aired." The lawyer for the broadcasting company, Sadredrin Isgenderov, said that Guliev was dismissed because he was usually late for work and was unable to use new technology. Isgenderov claimed that the plaintiff's personal opinion had no legal force. At the end of the hearing today, the judge told the defense to produce the relevant documents at the next hearing, which is scheduled for October 27th.